Hey guys, it is August 11th, 2026 here with your after hours recap. I'll keep it short and sweet. So today I had to ditch Google. I was hoping that it would hold on to its 50 simple moving average. Yesterday you closed just above it, but when you started to take out yesterday's lows, 351.76, I ended up letting this thing go in the morning, and glad that I did because it stayed heavy all day long. Not exactly sure what was going on, but some of the bigger names were kind of getting thrown around today. Amazon, it's one that I also kind of had to ditch. At the end of the day, I was just hopeful that it would be able to hold on to its support gap, but ultimately just not strong enough into the close with CPI tomorrow. And I think that that's the important caveat going into tomorrow. We've got CPI. I do not know what the reaction is going to be, but there is going to be some kind of a reaction, and I'll be able to kind of get myself better positioned with CPI on deck. The cybersecurity stocks continue to be fairly impressive. Palo Alto doing absolutely nothing wrong today. Washing out just a little bit, but holding in there incredibly well. CrowdStrike, similar story. Snowflake, another software stock, holding in there incredibly well. So again, no real issues. We'll see what CPI brings. Tomorrow, I did hold on to HPE despite this morning shakeout, and then in the after-hour session, SMCI was the cause of the small pop, but it did give some of that back. We'll see what happens tomorrow. And then DELL, I did hold on to this one as well. Again, did not love the shake, but because I bought the shakeout on Friday, that allowed me to hold today's shakeout as well. I have not taken any off the table on DELL. I want to try to be patient with it. If it takes out the top part of this base, really even maybe today's highs, I will be potentially adding to it. Taking out today's lows, I will be cutting it and not really giving anything back. And then net, again, nice little shakeout today, using today's lows as my stop. So I don't have tons of long exposure. It's been a little bit difficult to get positioned into this market, but you have had now some pretty decent earnings reports come out as of late, and you've got some charts that have been acting well. Again, today, a pretty quiet day nonetheless. CRWV had some earnings in the after-hour session, pushing nicely. That obviously is lifting a NBIS. That is also, even lifting an iron, which is fairly interesting, has not really gone any lower over the last couple of sessions. And then obviously the crude oil names, I kind of put out a little tweet about it the other day. Those are the names with the best base and bases. If you look at kind of your FANG and you look at your XOM, this has been building out a pretty nice base. You look at your XLE, you look at your XOP, your OIH, your oil services. I mean, these things are just building out pretty well. VLO, MPC, hanging in there incredibly well. I mean, just absolutely awesome. I do not own an oil and gas stock. They've always been kind of, as of late, a bit news driven, but right now the XLE is your leading ETF this year, and it doesn't necessarily seem like this one wants to give up the control or give up the title this year. It's funny because we've been in we've had an incredible semiconductor rally. But if I told you that the XLE was actually outperforming, almost all other parts of this market, you really wouldn't believe it. Obviously, the XLK has been pretty damn good, but XLE has had the most amount of stocks continuing to stay around, build bases, looking like they want to go higher. Now, again, CPI tomorrow, I think that's pretty interesting. LITE was another one that comes to mind that had some earnings. We'll see if this one can kind of reignite the spark in the optics names. Again, pretty nice reaction, all things considered. So we'll see what happens there. Again, today, utilities, some semiconductor equipment names, AEHR, acting phenomenal. ONTO, another one that kind of comes to mind, acting well. Kulik and Safa, again, another one, needs some work, but maybe just kind of starting to bottom here and turn back up. Looks a little bit like this Intel, similar story where you're still hanging out under the 50, but maybe, just maybe, these things are bottoming and then would like to get above the 50. build back out, and then we take it from there. A few other good ones, TER, one that comes to mind, ASML, with a gap up today, 3.5%. I mean, that is a pretty damn awesome day for that name. So we'll see. I don't think that there was a lot to really talk about today, to be quite honest with you. Again, cybersecurity names hanging in there pretty well, but the mega caps, they were coming under some pressure today. I don't want to think too much of it, to be quite honest with you. Not until we get through CPI tomorrow. NVIDIA, again, what are we going to do, right? It's not doing anything wrong here after this massive move, 20% in a couple sessions, and then you're just digesting. AVGO, again, pretty big move up off the lows, about 20%, and then just digesting. So there's not much to make of the market here. Home builders, I think, do look pretty interesting. Maybe a group to keep an eye on. Pulte is a name that I think looks pretty interesting here. Toll Brothers is another one that I think looks pretty interesting here, tightening up and building out above the 200 simple moving average. So we'll see kind of how that plays out tomorrow. It'd be nice to get a mega cap or two acting well. Crypto continues to do absolutely nothing. And then I almost got to stop looking at this ETF because MSOS is almost always at the top part of my ETF movers list, or the lowest part, DRAM, WGMI, one of the better performers today from the open. Again, DRAM up a whopping 2.6%. Don't really want to think too much of it when it's still below a falling 20. WGMI today up 2.4%. And then ITB 2.14 and EUV up 2.13. So again, not anything really exciting at all. So very, very quiet day. It felt quiet. And we'll just kind of see what happens tomorrow. So short and sweet today. I don't think, like I said, we have to, kind of judge the market on two fairly quiet days. I think about the Qs, and you get a really nice push off the lows. And then these past 2 days, it feels like summer trading again. But are the Qs doing anything wrong? As long as you're above the 50 simple, I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. And even if you undercut the 50 and then just continue to hold out and build out really above this low of August 4th, then I think we're fine, which was the follow-through day. So anything above this follow-through day, for me, I'm continuing to stay positive on the market. I don't really see any reason to panic on the Qs if you're above 707 and above the 50 simple moving average, and we'll just let the market play out one day at a time. I do hold some longs. I'd like to continue to get myself positioned in some more, but again, I'm not thinking too much of it. Copper, which I continue to find pretty interesting in terms of the base. FCX, SECO did not do a whole lot today. Just remember that positioning on copper is kind of crowded on the long side. So if this is something you're going to take, probably better to buy into some weakness and then kind of take it from there. So we'll just see what CPI brings tomorrow. We'll see what that reaction is like, and then, we'll judge the market from there. So again, hopefully you guys kind of traded well today. I did not click the buy button on anything. It was just a matter of getting out of my names that were not acting well. Those happen to be mega caps. I'm still not losing sight of Amazon. I still think that this has an opportunity to go higher. Has a support gap at 172-ish bucks. Again, the high volume close 271.58. I'd like to see that spot hold these last couple of days. It has held on to that level quite a few times, but you start to lose it, and then I'll feel a little bit different from there. But ultimately, you stay above the HVC, just let the moving averages catch up, and then we'll find a spot if the market is acting well to get re-engaged with Amazon. So again, hopefully you guys traded well, and I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. Cheers.